And welcome to the 22nd episode of the TechnoBuffalo Show. I am one of your two hosts for today, Sean Ani, editor-in-chief of the site, and I'm joined by executive editor of Mobile, Todd Hazelton.
Hey, everybody.
How are you doing today, Todd?
I'm good.
You know, even if Amazon just sneakily releases Kindles on us.
Yeah, that was crazy. It was last night. I'm sitting watching a movie with my wife, and Amazon, like, all of a sudden I pull up Twitter, and Amazon had announced, two e-readers and four Kindle, or four Fire tablets.
Out of the blue.
Where'd this come from? Yeah.
I-
I mean, we've
Yeah.
seen earlier in the day the Kindle Voyage, which is their new high-end e-reader, priced at $200. It has I think a 300 ppi display, touchscreen, a new page view turner, so you can change the page without, I guess, touching the screen. You just tap the bezels and stuff like that. So it looks cool. $200 though, kind of expensive. And then they have a new low-end Kindle at $79. So there's a lot of news. But we had sort of heard about the Voyage just hours before, I guess. I didn't really see it coming so soon.
Yeah, which I thought, okay, we saw that leak. I figured, oh, okay, they'll announce an event in a week or two.
Mm-hmm.
And I went on to Amazon to look something up later in the night. I was like, what is this on the front page?
Yeah.
What is going on here? And luckily, Todd had already seen it and already published the article, but I was just, that's such an unusual way for this sort of situation to happen.
Yeah, it was it was probably about 10 o'clock my time, and so 7 o'clock Pacific. It's just not a normal time for that embargoed kind of news to go up. It's usually maybe midnight Eastern. Sometimes that happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just so late in the
No,
day.
it was a weird situation and time all around, but I'm really puzzled though by, okay, so they already had the Fire HD at 7 inches and they refreshed that, and the Fire HD 6.
Yeah, and it ships in 5 colors now, right?
Yeah.
Just okay.
I called John Rettinger real quick to see if he had seen that they were up, and he hadn't. We were just quickly discussing them, and we wondered why in the heck they didn't just make the Fire HD 6 a phone. But
interesting. That's a big phone, though. And should they really try a phone again? Rumors 35,000 units of the Fire phone sold. It's already 99 cents with a contract. I don't know.
I laughed so hard last week at the Uncarrier event when John Legere referred to it as the Fire cell phone.
Oh, jeez, yeah.
Oh man, that talk about a burn.
Yeah.
But no, I mean the Fire HD6 is somewhat interesting in that it's only $99.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting, and you have to wonder with these kind of prices. And we've seen it before, sort of the lower prices from Amazon, mainly to get you into their ecosystem. Jeff Bezos has said before, that they make their profits when you start buying stuff. And you have to wonder, then why didn't they do this with a phone? And I know that phones are sometimes more expensive to build. You toss in an LTE radio. Sometimes that's why tablets with LTE are $100 more and stuff like that. But, I think they could have come in then, maybe with that phone that we had talked about at like a $350 off contract price. You have to start wondering why they don't have that.
But didn't the OnePlus One though teach us that these phones don't have to be that much?
Right. It kind of taught us that, because you have to see also Amazon could never get away with selling a phone that was only available to select people. They'd have to have it, manufactured in bulk, which is something OnePlus One still can't do. And we even learned yesterday that the special, bamboo and denim covers and stuff are never actually going to happen in bulk either. So I think, while the OnePlus One model is awesome and you get a really great device for a great cost, it's a small company, and Amazon would get slaughtered for trying to do something like that and not being able to create enough units. So.
Well, you also have to wonder what the carriers that do sell phones through Amazon, and the phone manufacturers, what they would have thought if Amazon had undercut them by that much.
Yeah, you have to wonder. Like, would they
but
still partner?
I don't know. It was an interesting evening. I don't feel I have a Kindle Paperwhite, and I don't feel any burning desire to pick up a Kindle Voyage.
Right. Yeah.
But it was interesting, and in this day and age, the idea that we can still be surprised by something.
Right.
Yeah, when we had seen the iPhone 6 from every conceivable angle before the event last week.
Right.
But it was interesting. But
I think one of the interesting things too
Yeah.
that might have been glossed over in all the news, because especially with gadget junkies and stuff, we're looking at sort of the high end products, but they have their new the Kid Edition Fire, which comes with a guaranteed, no questions asked 2-year replacement policy. So if your kid breaks it or whatever, Amazon says no questions asked. I'm sure there's some fine print there to dig through, but they'll replace it. I thought that was pretty cool.
That is cool. But I don't know. I have mixed feelings on kid-specific tablets.
Mm-hmm.
I like the concept. I have no idea how kids are actually reacting to these things.
Yeah, neither of us have kids, so
Exactly. So I don't know. It's interesting that they went that way, and both Amazon and Netflix report that the kids programming on their streaming services are some of the most popular, which just says parents are setting their kids down in front of televisions and turning on the Roku.
Yeah, or adults just love cartoons.
No comment. I was so angry when I discovered that Netflix only had Young Justice Season 1 but not Season 2, so I actually had to buy Season 2 on Amazon streaming.
Nice.
For those that don't know, Young Justice is a Justice League spinoff. It's not something totally bizarre. Anyway, so iOS 8 came out yesterday. So far, I got it onto my 5S and to my iPad.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say my iPhone feels a little faster, just a tiny bit, not a lot, but a little.
Does it? I haven't noticed a real huge change personally. Battery life is still awful. It was before I put iOS 8 on it anyway.
Well, thankfully, a lot of the reviews that have come out, the early reviews for the 6 and the 6 Plus, are saying fantastic battery life.
Yeah, it's interesting though, because I saw some that were doing like the video rundowns, where they put them side by side and run videos, and in some cases the 6 wasn't lasting as long as the 5S, which I find curious, and also because people are saying the 5S is getting through. The 6 is getting through a day, but I think we all know, at least those of us who have had the 5S since last year, I still have a really hard time. I don't think I've ever, not in recent memory, made it through a full day, and I can't remember. When it first came out, I think maybe, so who knows?
This isn't the one I carry in my bag, but there's a reason I have portable power packs
floating around.
Yeah.
You have to imagine, can you imagine how big Mophis are going to be, like these battery packs for the 6 and the 6 Plus? Is there really going to be one for the 6 Plus? It's going to be... Wow.
That's a good question. Mophie's made a heck of a name for itself out there, so...
Maybe they can slim it down, because, with the 6 Plus, you probably only need another 50% charge or something like that, to get through. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, and we would be remiss if we did not address the Thursday night mayhem of the iPhone.
Yeah, seriously. We woke up early for pre-orders, which was crazy because I couldn't get the 6 Plus, which I was trying for. So ultimately, I did. I placed 3 orders, apparently, because the pages were crashing so much. I woke up on Friday, saw that my order was... set to arrive in late October, early November. So I was like, no way. So I canceled that. Went to Apple's page. iPhone 6, 128 gigabytes, still available for delivery tomorrow. I was like, all right, I'm settling. That's fine. I bought that one. And it's crazy because I didn't have to get up at 3 a.m. I think I bought it 11 a.m. the next morning. There's plenty of stock for the 6. The Plus went, right out the door.
Yeah. So. No, I don't know. I mean, we all got up early to try to do the pre-orders, and now here's what got me. So I woke up at 1:45. Pre-orders were supposed to start at, and that's Central Time for everyone that's wondering. So 11:45 p.m. Pacific. Pre-orders were supposed to start at midnight. So 8 of us were in the company chat room. We're all trying to load the Apple Store. Finally, at 4:43 my time, or no, 4:23 my time,
Mm-hmm.
it finally was responsive. I immediately ordered an iPhone 6 Plus, and it told me that I wasn't going to get it until like October 1st.
Right.
So when Apple opened the next morning, I ended up not going back to bed. I was like, at this point, it's ridiculous. So I stayed up and I called Apple customer care as soon as they opened up, and I was like, hey, what's going on? Why is my order saying October 1st? And she goes, well, you ordered at 2:23. She goes, that's almost 2.5 hours after the queue opened. I go, well, here's the problem with that. I go, your site wasn't responsive.
Right.
And I
Couldn't do
go,
it.
I had you on a 5-second reload, and I ordered the second you went live. Well, I'm sorry, sir. That's just, I can give you slightly faster shipping. So now I'm up to like September 29th, and that's fine, whatever. If I get it in 10 days, whatever. But I don't understand how, if their site wasn't operational, they were not taking orders.
Right.
Why does it matter that I ordered at 2:23 Pacific? That didn't make any sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I mean, believe me, hashtag first world problems.
Right, exactly.
I get that. But I don't know. It was very, very odd. Very
And speaking
odd.
of pre-orders and competing phones and stuff, we should let everybody know tomorrow pre-orders for the Galaxy Note 4 open up. And so far, T-Mobile and AT&T have announced pricing, expected at other carriers as well. Looking like $299 with a contract. Otherwise, it's a bit more affordable, or I mean, upfront if you do one of those installment plans. But another exciting phone coming out October 17th, though.
I find that's amusing to me that the Galaxy Note 4 pre-orders are opening on the day that everyone will be going into the carrier stores.
Yeah, you have to
iPhones.
wonder. I think it was done on purpose.
No, you think?
Yeah.
No.
Who knows?
Pure coincidence.
Especially if they're going to do it like globally. I don't know if it's globally because they were talking about U.S. pre-orders specifically in this, but if it's globally, then Samsung could come back and Apple might say we sold, say it says we sold 9 million iPhones on the first weekend of sales, then Samsung could come back and say, well, we sold 12 million because Android and Samsung, they typically announce several million handsets, but usually within a month. But I don't know what the Note 4 is going to do. It's a very popular handset these days.
Quick comment going back to iOS 8 for a second from Paul Gans. iOS 8 is totally unusable on my iPad 3, agonizingly slow and unresponsive.
Yeah, I'd seen some concerns about. A lot of people were saying yesterday, like, don't put it on a 4S, and probably not those older iPads, which is unfortunate because you think Apple really tested them for quality assurance, but
yeah, I mean, my general rule is 2 years back on mobile devices for upgrades. Anything older than that, I tend to get a little.
You start to wonder.
Yeah, let's see. No, iPad 3 though. That's how many generations back? Because they changed the names on us. So it was iPad.
Because they went back to the second gen iPad as well, which. Is that considered the? I don't remember which one.
iPad Gen 2 was still been iPad Gen 2, Gen 3, and Gen 4 were still 30-pin connectors. It wasn't. Yeah. Or no, 4 went to Lightning.
4 switched to Lightning. Yeah.
4 switched to Lightning, and then Air was Lightning. So
you have Mini and Mini with Retina.
Yeah, I mean, the 3 falls under my 2-generation rule.
Yeah, but I mean that's unfortunate because you think Apple should be testing this. It should, but I think what it's trying to fight back against too is people saying, well, I've only had this for 2 years or 3 years. Like, why? How dare you not give me the latest software? Because apps are then developed for that software, and you get other things. And I think it's trying to address that while at the same time trying probably cut it real close to which generations it can put it back on.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's unfortunate. I feel for you, Paul. I believe you can roll back, and that may be the best solution for you. If it's that much of a worse experience. But
yeah,
I don't know. It's gonna be.
It's kind of funny too when you look at Android, how it's actually being designed more and more to run on these lower powered devices.
Yeah, and I agree with you. Android or Google seems to be trying to make Android an all-inclusive, and that's awesome. Maybe my treadmill will get updated.
Right. Well, that's exactly the risk, right? Like a lot of times you're not going to get the update on some of the Android handsets because these manufacturers are pumping out so many, and they're on so many carriers. The carriers are then saying, well, we don't have time to go testing this for every single product. We're not going to roll it out to every device, and same with manufacturers. And I think so. You run into problems on both sides of the road, whether it's Android or iOS, and then even Windows Phone's been actually Microsoft's been doing a great job with rolling back Windows Phone 8.1 to older devices too.
Yeah, exactly. And Paul just updated us. He is restoring from a backup. Man, that sucks.
Right.
That really does suck. But good luck, Paul. Though hopefully it will work out for you. But so tonight at midnight local times, which actually, let's see, Australia should be getting their phones right about now. If not, they're about 14 hours ahead of me. So they should already be on sale in Australia, which means the blogs that I hats off to them, but the blogs that fly to Australia just to buy iPhones.
Are there many?
Not a lot. I mean, iFixit will be there.
Yeah.
iFixit's videos will probably be up within the next hour to 2 hours.
Which is great. I love those.
I love them too, but it's just like, did you guys actually jump on a plane just to go buy an iPhone?
Yeah, right.
I mean, I go to the UK once a year for vacation, and that's not cheap. Flying all the way to Australia is even more expensive, but
right.
Okay. But I don't know. It's going to be an interesting day tomorrow to see how this rolls out. And of course, Monday we'll get the numbers of how many they sold. And Apple won't break it down by model, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
But do you think there's a chance we're going to break last year's 9 million?
I think so. I mean, at least seeing from what how crazy the store was this year, and I think because this is not only a generation jump. It's not just a 5 to a 5S. I think it's like a big jump from 5S to a brand new design. Not only that, but also I think the larger screens and Apple's betting on it, not me, but that it might attract Android users over too. So I wouldn't be surprised, but we'll see.
Yeah, the fact that they released that how to migrate to iPhone page yesterday, that was pretty telling. Of how Apple thinks the new sizes are going to attract over the Android users. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know that many people that have switched to Android simply for larger screens, but I mean, I'm sure it's happened.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, my wife has always been a huge fan of Android because of the larger screens. She doesn't use iPhone, and she has no interest in the iPhone, actually, which is pretty interesting. She uses the One M7 she bought from Verizon. After it was a year old, I think it was $99. And she's in love with it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, as you know, my mother's using a One M8, and she was just telling me the other day she loves it.
Yeah. Yeah, great phones.
Yeah, she really likes the one M8.
So when you have, yeah, so exactly, like you have these really, really high-end Android phones out there, and I think in that case, those people probably aren't willing to switch. But if you have someone maybe who's been using an Android phone on the lower end, or just was really, really there for just the big screen, then maybe, and they had gone there for that, then maybe they might, think about switching back to iOS. But I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we're getting some questions in here, so let's. This one is from CBENFIE. I have no idea what you're trying to spell there. What features do you want to see when the Apple Watch is not near connected with your iPhone? Good question.
Yeah, for me, I feel like we haven't really understood what local storage is for yet, whether it's just music, which I think Apple said, you can leave your phone behind and go for a run, and that kind of stuff. But I'd like to see local storage for applications. I mean, wouldn't it be neat if you had some smaller ones there that were usable? But remember, it needs your iPhone to have an internet connection, so and your GPS and stuff like that. So things like maps probably aren't going to work appropriately without a connection. But I think local storage. So if you want to have your photos, probably will be available, because they sort of suggested that when they were showing the photo album and talking about local storage. And then in addition to the music that we were just talking about, I don't know what else. Like, what else could you have local? Probably maybe some kind of note-taking application. I can imagine like an Evernote or anything that caches. Maybe. Well, I don't know if you really want to read news on your phone, right? But if you think about things that cache, maybe locally, then you could look at that, maybe Pocket or something like that.
Well, all I know is I don't want my phone to ever be too far away, because I may need to send my heart rate to you in an emergency.
Yeah.
And so my phone will always be with me at all times. So I could. I haven't sent you my heart rate in an hour.
Yeah.
Let me do that right now. Let me push the digital crown and send you my heart rate.
Yeah,
that feature is never not going to be funny.
And the emoticons, like those animated emoticons, like I get the idea is cool, but it just seems like so silly.
Okay.
I mean, I'll reserve judgment until I play with it. Like there's a lot of fun that can be had there, but I just think it looks weird.
All right, here comes my being an old man again. Yes, I use a smiley face. Yes, I use a frowny face. Whatever. I don't need colorful emojis to do that. I know how to bake a colon parenthesis.
Right, but you can adjust the face on this with your hands. I don't know. It's like, what is this?
This love affair with emojis is just beyond me. I just don't get.
They're funny when you I use them in chats with my friends pretty frequently. I mean, because you can do some funny stuff.
I thought somebody I follow on Twitter just sent out a tweet, and let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 emojis in their tweet. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Really? Why? Yeah, it's just like those people that use 8 hashtags in a tweet.
Right. But would be cool too. I was just thinking because it's what was that app on Android Wear? I don't cook often, but it lets you send recipes down your Android Wear watch, and then you can swipe through the steps. Like that's something that could be pretty cool for local storage. If you could save that and cache the recipe, and then bring it up later, and maybe your phone's not right next to you in the kitchen or something like that. I mean, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is. From Gishulg, guys, please, names I can actually read. Anyway, he says iOS 8 is running more or less good on my iPhone 5S. Looking forward to a little bug fix update 8.0.1. I would imagine that's probably going to be what, next week?
Yeah, I wonder. Or I mean, unless they're just going to wait till the update in October with Yosemite, where they're going to add the full handoff and continuity features and stuff like that, which are going to be sweet.
Yeah. From Will Page, what are your favorite features of iOS 8? Sorry if you have answered this, just tuned in. No, we have not answered. We have not discussed our favorite features yet.
Although I just did say them, I think.
You kind of did, yeah. Well, for me, let's say the emergency thing that
we were talking about that this morning. It's really neat.
Yeah, the medical alert thing. I think that's an awesome idea. That I am deathly allergic to penicillin, so I always have a note in my wallet, that says penicillin. I'm sorry, I will not wear a medical ID bracelet. Uh, so I've always had a note in my wallet that says, allergic to penicillin. But the fact that it's now on my phone, and like Todd said when we discussed it this morning, unfortunately, we do think it's maybe like one step too far to get to it, but medical personnel will begin to learn it's there and be
Right.
able to get there. I mean, for the
And
first year or so, though, I wouldn't be like, trust that as your only source of
right.
emergency information.
And just to recap, it's a new feature inside the health application that lets you put in like your age, weight, height, and then any notes about your medical history or prescriptions you might take, what you're allergic to, and then on the lock screen you can tap emergency where it would usually allow you to just dial 911 or something like that, and then you can click. I guess it's like the medical card. I keep unlocking my phone. It's you tap emergency, and then you tap medical ID. And it brings up the whole medical ID page, which is neat, for exactly what you're saying, like emergency responders.
Yeah, it's like 3 steps to get there. I just did it.
Yeah, it's
But I
kind of
like
hidden unless you know about it.
right. But I mean, I like the fact that like I have my emergency contacts here, and they can use this phone to call them. It lists that I'm an organ donor. It lists that I am, I'm allergic to penicillin. So I think that's awesome. I mean, that's a very small thing. I also really like the the quick access to contacts now when you go into the apps. When you do the double click on the home button,
Yeah.
I think that's a cool idea.
Right up top. Yeah.
I did find, for whatever reason, Passbook forgot every app I had attached to it when I updated.
Really?
Yeah, so I'm having to
Mine
go
are all
back.
there.
Yeah, I'm having to go back through and reattach everything to Passbook.
Huh.
But
At least I think mine are there. Like Starbucks and stuff was there this morning.
I,
So my favorite features are handoff and continuity. Handoff allowing you to do. Wait, I always get them mixed up. Handoff lets you do the document editing across all devices, right? And then continuity is the one that'll let you send like SMS messages from your iPad or your Yosemite notebook or answer phone calls and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. I'm just double checking
yeah,
that. I think that's cool.
yeah. Unfortunately, those don't launch until OS
Yeah.
10 Yosemite, whenever that is. But
Right.
I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah, that's going to be neat. And then what else do I like? I think, like, I thought Hey Siri is pretty cool, where you can just say Hey Siri as long as your phone's
Do you think
charging, but I hate that it has to be charging.
Okay. Yeah, my freeze problem I told you about just happened. From JCSB TV, do you think Apple is holding back on the camera on the iPhone 6, only 8 megapixels?
I don't know. So the early reviews seem to suggest that the camera is really, really awesome. But I personally, yes, I agree. I want more than 8 megapixels, and here's why. Because when I bring up the pictures I take on my 5S on my Apple TV, and it's attached to like a 31-inch TV, maybe something like that. And the pictures, I mean, they look awful when they're up on that big screen. They're just totally pixelated. Selfies are worse because it's like 1 megapixel camera or something like that up front. I mean, and when I bring up my OneDrive or SkyDrive as it's called now on my big screen here in the living room, which is, I don't know, 50-something inches, those, I mean, they look great because they're snapped with, I use OneDrive to back up everything, so all the Android devices I use, and my Lumia 1020, which is obviously going to look really crisp on the big screen, and then the 1520, those look great. So I do think that while Apple's creating a better lens and a lot of technology for the camera that's going to allow for better pictures, the 8 megapixels is very limiting when you're trying to show pictures on a big screen like this, at least for me.
Well, the thing, and again, whenever the question of megapixels comes up, it's not so much, that doesn't so much dictate the quality as the actual lens does.
Right.
The megapixels just simply tells you how big the photo can be.
Right.
And I don't know. I don't get obsessed with the megapixel numbers because, I mean, some of these megapixel numbers we see, I'm just like, Yeah, right. Great. Yeah, it can be that big, and if you truly blow it up to the full size, you're going to see every artifact ever.
Right.
But I don't know. I think Apple needs to increase the megapixel number just to simply compete, and I'm not sure why they didn't this year.
Right.
But
That's okay. I
I don't
mean,
know.
I feel like they say it's the most popular camera, that people use. I don't know. I guess because it's sort of the most, because Apple sells more iPhones than, say, Samsung would sell a single Galaxy in some cases. Not entirely all of their Galaxies. Samsung still has the market share there. But I think that's where Apple's getting at and trying to just improve the one camera that you use the most. But yeah, I agree. I'd like to see more megapixel stuff in there.
Great question here from Brizen Franco. Is Apple Pay available worldwide, or is it just like iTunes Radio, a big lie, since they also advertise it here in Italy, only available in the US of A? I believe they did say Apple Pay was going to be US only.
Yeah, it's US and not even available here until next month. But I wouldn't say it's a lie. They said right away that it's only available in the United States. And I'm sure they're going to try to expand, but you have to consider they're making these partnerships with banks, and they have to start somewhere. They just chose.
No, I mean, I can understand Apple Pay being a bit of a slower rollout. iTunes Radio, if they're advertising in Italy, then yeah, by golly, it should be there. But Apple Pay, yeah, I mean, they have to negotiate with the banks and the credit card processors and everything else. So I would imagine it'll eventually get there, but who knows when it actually will. But it'd be nice. Let's see here. From Sean the Man 34, do you think we will see another Apple keynote this year? That's a really interesting question after everything that happened yesterday.
Yeah, so there were rumors yesterday that we're going to get 2 new iPads and the Yosemite launch date on October 21st. But then Jim Dalrymple, I'm probably screwing up his last name.
I've never known
the loop gave his famous, yep or nope, and he said nope. And I don't know if he meant nope for the date, or if he meant nope for there's not 2 iPads, or there's not going to be a Yosemite announcement there. I don't know what the nope meant, but something was wrong about that report.
He was very vague yesterday, which is actually unusual for him. I do think there's going to be another event. I just don't know when it is. There's no way that Apple is going to go into the holiday season without new iPads. There's zero chance that they're going in without new iPads.
I'd like to see a new MacBook, honestly, but I don't know if it's going to happen because I'm ready to upgrade, but I'm afraid to.
Yeah. No, I don't know. This is going to be. It's going to happen at some point. We just don't know when.
Yeah.
From Josh Gray, what do you think about the camera sticking out of the back of the phone? I assume he's discussing the iPhone.
Looks ugly to me.
It does to me too.
I saw some people saying like all the lens elements add to the thickness, so it's naturally just going to be thicker than the back body. And then there were people complaining that that putting that on a table is going to scratch the lens, which I'm really not so worried about because it is sapphire. And like I know mine doesn't stick out, but it's still on the 5S, it's still tapping stuff all the time, and it's not scratched. But I think it's it looks like a design flaw to me. But what do you do?
I don't know. It still strikes me as odd that Apple did that. But.
Yeah, and like keep in mind, I mean, here's the Galaxy S5 that sticks out too. It's got a bump. Mm-hmm. So what they do though is they kind of round it up so it's a little smoother. And 1520, I'm just looking around for my phones. 1520 has a bump, obviously. A lot of things. Here's the Nexus 5. Nexus 5, if you forget, also has a camera ring that protrudes. So I think there's a lot of just like people are, there you go. There's the Galaxy S5 too. Yeah. People are jumping all over Apple, but like let's not forget that nearly every other smartphone on the market now does have some sort of camera bump.
And that's a very good point. I think a lot of people have, just because it's Apple, they're not figuring, why is this sticking out? But I mean, this is the Mega 6.3.
That's a 6.3, yeah.
Yeah, it's going on 2 years old, and it's got a bump. The phones you just picked up all have bumps.
Yeah, I'm trying to look around. Most of them have bumps. But Apple's, in the past, the 5S doesn't. So
once again, how funny. How many phones do you have on your desk right now, Todd?
Oh, a bunch. They're mostly in my drawers.
The life of tech bloggers. We never know how many phones we have around us. From Sean the Man 34, what iPhone did you guys order? Screen size, gigabyte, and color. I ordered a iPhone 64 or iPhone 64. Yes, I ordered a Nintendo 64. I ordered an iPhone 6 Plus, 64 gigabytes, space gray.
I did. Well, I originally went 128 iPhone 6 Plus, and then when the shipment was, delayed until November, I did the 128 iPhone 6 in space gray.
Yeah. Josh, you say I'm sorry, I don't know for what. If it's about
just to clarify, we also buy other phones. We're just talking about Apple today, but I own a OnePlus One I just bought. I own the Nexus 5 I just bought, still because I want to play with Android L and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a OnePlus One in my bag. I've got a Galaxy. I've got the Mega 6.3 here on my desk. So we're not.
Fortunately, it's expensive. We just buy lots.
Todd and I are very OS ambidextrous. We use both all the time. So.
Oh man, I was in Berlin for IFA. I was so tempted to buy the Nokia Lumia 930. What a beautiful Windows phone! Because it's not for sale easily, findable here in the United States unless you want the Lumia icon on Verizon. And oh boy, was I tempted! But I think with the exchange rate, it was like $618, and I just couldn't do it.
Yeah, I don't know. From Siddhat Gautam, Amazon announces Fire OS 4 Sangria. What are your views on it? I heard it was based on KitKat.
It is based on KitKat. I haven't had a chance to play with it yet. I don't personally own any Fire tablets or have any here, so we'll try to get our devices updated in the office. But I'm excited to see how it runs on the new devices too. Hopefully we can play around with those. I mean, I'm interested to see a $99 tablet, running whatever new software, the Sangria update they just pushed to it.
You realize that the Fire HD6 has a smaller screen than my Mega.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, but at $99.
Yeah, that's neat. I mean, I'd be tempted to get that over like the new $79 Kindle. And I know the difference is like e-ink and stuff like that, but when you think about it, like you could read on this and then watch movies and all that kind of stuff for just $20 more. But I know why people buy e-readers. It's tempting.
Okay, interesting. This could get heated. Okay. From Benjamin McDonald. Why do you like MacBooks when there are awesome computers from Asus and Acer?
They don't take any offense. Computers. I would throw Lenovo into that mix. I love the Yoga 2 Pro.
I've actually addressed this several places. I was Windows only from 1986
I have a
to
PC here, everybody, just so you know.
Yeah,
right next to me.
Todd has both on it, and there's actually that's a Windows machine sitting behind me.
Yeah.
I was Windows only from 1986 to 2011, and I simply got to a point where the nature of our work is that we have to go to so many websites a day. About every 2 weeks, I was having to spend a Saturday night virus cleaning my computer. 3 to 4 hours of working on trying to repair my computer. And I came into some inheritance, and I was like, you know what? I'm finally going to buy an iMac. And, just to try it out, see how it does. And honestly, I fell in love with the operating system. I really did. And it's not from a Apple fanboy situation. It's not from a hatred of Windows situation. It just simply, it fits what I do better.
Right.
I also was getting tired of buying a new Windows laptop every 2 years.
Yeah.
That really drove me nuts. And, I'm on the 3rd year of my MacBook Pro. So,
yeah.
Yeah, it's not that we're biased towards Apple. It's just they fit what we do better.
Yeah, I was just going to say, for me, I came into using a MacBook for blogging because at our trade shows and stuff, and this was back in like 2010, maybe, a MacBook Air, I don't know. Way back when I was at Laptop Magazine, actually, testing these things. And I carry plenty of laptops, but the MacBook Air at the time was one of the thinnest and lightest, and so it was really easy to carry around show floors. And then I just kind of stuck with MacBook Air. So this one's from 2012. It's a 2011 model, I think, and I've just kept it, and it's running okay. It's time to swap it out. I think it's getting issues with it, but it's running Yosemite fine, which is nice, and but the battery life's awful.
Yeah, I actually have a HP Chromebook now next to my bed. I love it. I don't. It's limited in some ways, but if I need to do something quick, it's just like, boop, it's on, and I'm on. I'm online.
Right.
It's fantastic for quick little tasks.
Yeah, and the nice thing is today, I should say, that Ultrabooks running on the latest processors and stuff are running Windows, and they are thin and light, just like MacBook Airs. And Lenovo's got that great, the Yoga 2 Pro. I love. It's got amazing that hinge. You can put it in like 3 different positions. A tent stand. You can push the screen all the way back. It's really cool. So now I'm just trying to figure out which one I buy next, which is hard.
Real quick, Sean the Man 34 asks, and do not answer this, Todd. I'll explain why.
Okay.
Worst tech gadget you ever bought? There's actually coming this Christmas, because we have to plan ahead for long holidays. There will be a series where every TechnoBuffalo employee is going to write an article about the worst tech gadget, our biggest tech purchase regret. So look for that coming up here in a month or two. But yeah, Todd and I already know the one. We're picking the same one, so we need to figure that out.
Search regret on TechnoBuffalo. It'll bring up mine.
Which will give away mine.
I wrote it recently. Yeah, right.
Oh, good Lord. From Benjamin McDonald, design-wise, LG G Watch versus Moto 360 versus Pebble Steel versus Apple Watch. Can't really fairly say anything about Apple Watch because neither Todd or I have seen it in person.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, Moto 360 wins against the G Watch for sure. I saw the G Watch R in Berlin. That thing is awesome, and that's the one I think you should maybe. Well, let's see what the pricing is, but you might want to wait if you're looking at these watches. Pebble Steel, great watch, great design. I think totally different experience, and I think still probably the best experience. Better battery life, more apps, more watch faces, stuff like that. Design-wise, however, I think I'm going to hand it to the 360 right now. I haven't seen the Apple Watch in person, and I think really I want to save my reservations to play with that first. But that's
unfortunately, we really can't comment on the Apple Watch yet because we don't have enough experience with it yet.
Yeah, it looks great in press images, but what doesn't,
Yeah, exactly. From Alan Hobson, I'll quickly address this. What is the Buffalo and TechnoBuffalo? That is, John has to explain this about every 6 months. John wanted the word tech or techno in the name. He went to school near Buffalo, New York, and he liked the idea of a strong animal, and technobuffalo.com was available as a URL. We did have to pay through the nose for it.
Did you really?
No, we did not.
Did not.
Did not. Because it was actually available. I mean, every other name he came up with was owned by domain squatters, and they wanted like 5,000, 6,000.
Wow.
It was the world of domain names is always fun. All right, we're going to take just one more here. Let me go through it, and thank you everyone for the tons of questions.
G Watch R, Benjamin. Just going back to that question, that's a great design. I think it probably might overtake the 360 in my book, but I got to play with it more.
Okay, great ending question here, and one that I've actually had to answer several times in my personal life this past week. From Sadat Gadam, 1 gigabyte of RAM on iPhone 6 and 6 Plus, is it low? Does high RAM really matter?
I think first we talk about speed. We don't know the speed of the memory there, and second, how it runs on the software. And for me, Well, I don't remember what's in the 5S. I guess a gig of RAM too, right? But it might
Yeah.
be new. It might be a new 1 gig of RAM. I mean, 1 gig of RAM from this year and 1 gig of RAM from 2007 are totally different things. But I think really it's more about the user experience, right? Like, why put 2 gigs of RAM in it if it doesn't need it? And that's it. And what if it's going to increase the cost to us? What if we were going to pay $220 for the entry-level iPhone instead of $200 because that's what the additional RAM would cost when the user doesn't even need it? So I think on paper and specs, and when you're comparing things like that, like 3 gigs of Android and on an Android phone and 1 gig on a iOS device, it's sort of like it really is comparing apples and oranges.
Yeah, it really is. On my iPad, I think it needs a little bit more RAM just because of the graphic intensity of some of the apps. But
Right.
on my iPhone, I've never really experienced slowdown, and that's only running 1 gig of RAM. I think that when you design the operating system to the hardware and vice versa, it's a very different beast. Yes, I know, the Galaxy Note 4 is going to have 3 gigs of RAM, and this is going to have 3 gigs of RAM. Well, that's also having to power a skin and the operating system and a whole bunch of other stuff. So, yeah, on paper it doesn't look that awesome, but I don't think it's going to be that horrible.
Yeah.
We won't know. Again, folks, anything related to the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus, we are speaking purely from speculation. We have not played with. John Rettinger is the only one that has touched a 6 or a 6 Plus yet. We've not had time to do tests. We've not had time to do anything else. So don't take anything we're saying today as gospel about the 6 and 6 Plus. Well, I think that's going to do it. Thank you all for joining us today, and as always, asking awesome questions. I wish we could get to all of them, but unfortunately, we have to go write more content for all of you. So, as always, we do appreciate if you go and look up the TechnoBuffalo Show on iTunes and give us a rating and review. That really does help us out a lot. You can find us on Stitcher. You can find us on Pocket Cast. You can subscribe via RSS feed. There's tons of ways to listen to this show, and we do appreciate each and every one of you. As always, I've been Sean Ani. I'm the editor-in-chief of TechnoBuffalo. I've been joined by the executive editor of Mobile, Todd Hazelton.
Bye, everybody.
And hopefully next week we'll be back on Wednesdays. It's been a little shaky with our schedules lately due to everything going on. But no matter what, we'll be back next week. Till then, take it easy. Bye-bye.